Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Wealthy SAP Consultant Podcast. I am here with a new friend of mine, Jonathan Brotto. We've been talking about, oh my gosh, you guys are just going to love this episode. We've been talking about our backgrounds, our shared backgrounds around SAP and family businesses and all sorts of great stuff. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I just want to honor you and what you're doing and the expertise that you're going to bring to the table today. And could you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit as we get started here?
Well, I'm Jonathan. I've been in the SAP space for about 15 years right now, and I've actually got into SAP due in part because of my family business, and I learned the ERP as a super user and then eventually became a product expert of the ERP itself.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into SAP. It's in it, and from there, there's always opportunities to learn and grow, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonathan, tell us a little bit like you were sharing with me in addition to your SAP experience, you have a little bit of extended family experience in business and just give me like a little bit of the bigger picture as well. What are you an expert at nowadays? What do you love to do more than anything else?
So at the moment, I love problem solving. I mean, my background was how do we take this tool and use it to solve a business need? And sometimes you have to understand what data you have within these systems as well too, and to change the culture of an organization and their teammates to fully utilize such a powerful tool. I mean, at the end of the day, you're only as good as your, let's say, the people that are champion your resources and using it to the fullest extent possible. And every scenario is a little different. So you have to understand the culture of the organization,
Mm.
the temperament of the people, and then from there you can use your tools much more effectively, I feel.
I love that. I love that. That's so insightful. One of the things that we were talking about, just to let the audience know before we started recording the episode, is you have quite a bit of experience in your family business. And what you just mentioned is using SAP, but then looking at the bigger picture. Um, Tell me about, let's talk a little bit about if we have this experience as an SAP consultant in business, what does that look like? Like, what's the best way to bring that to the marketplace? Is the best way to, I don't know, just update our LinkedIn profile and send out our resume everywhere? Or what have you experienced that's really helped you to have breakthrough and get more projects in your business?
Okay, so for me, what actually helps a lot is you have to differentiate yourself from everyone else and demonstrate that you are an expert
Mhm.
in your given field of knowledge. So for me, I'm particularly strong within a product called SAP Business One, which is a very unique product
Yeah.
because it's SAP for small, medium enterprises. And I've actually been with the product since its 2005 version to, let's say, at least version 10. So that's a very different product. It caters to the smaller businesses in general, but if well utilized, it could scale to a couple tens of millions or maybe hundreds of $1 million organization. So it has a lot of similar principles, especially now with the S4 HANA interface when you use Fiori, because a lot of the language now is very simplified in the large scale ERP that now with the smaller ones, it's very interchangeable to terms. You're not making it become a highly engineered product anymore. It's more of a user centric product. So, but at the end of the day, an ERP is an ERP. You just have to be familiar with how certain aspects work. And then from there, it's how you communicate with your key stakeholders to ensure proper utilization of the tool.
I love that. I actually didn't know that your SAP experience was in Business One. And the team that I ran was the team that was responsible for bringing Business One into the United States market. And our team was
Yes.
responsible for being able to do 10,000 net new customers in the Business One space, adding them to the SAP ecosystem. So that's super exciting. But when we talk about some of those SAP customers and some of the struggles they have and differentiating yourself, what do you do to differentiate yourself? Like, how do you communicate that to the marketplace now in 2025? And what do you feel like customers are looking for when they're looking for somebody of your level of expertise, or maybe my level of expertise, or somebody who's listening right now?
So at the end of the day, I mean, I notice on LinkedIn a lot of people will just say they know SAP, they have a certificate, which is great. But
Yeah.
I find that when you have a referral of somebody who's respected in the marketplace and you have demonstrated like either through pro bono work or through community engagement, that at the end of the day, when somebody speaks highly of your skill set, it will demonstrate that you are competent and you could deliver.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't expect to be a master of a tool right away. So, for example, I come from business one where end-to-end knowledge, I I would say if very dedicated, you could do it within a year to two, and you know the product inside out, end to end. But for an S4 environment, for example,
Yeah.
you're aiming more towards the traditional modules and you're being a master of, let's say, one to two, maybe three modules if you're doing a functional like role or a technical role of the ERP, or you're combining it with something that's outside the product and you're demonstrating that you can integrate, say, an SAP tool within the ERP very well. And usually, like when you're the one replying on the forums, for example, or creating blog posts, if you have demonstrated your proof of work without, like, obviously, how can I say, disclosing any sensitive information of any clients,
Mm.
but demonstrating you competently was able to execute on something that adds value that you are unique to, people will find out, and word does go around eventually.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's more about who could solve a problem and deliver in a timely manner.
Yeah. I love that. One of the things that we do in our community of SAP consultants, of all the different products that are in the SAP family, is we help consultants be able to package up the services that they provide so that they're focused on what we call results-based outcomes. Because what we've noticed in the marketplace is, and to your point, to kind of piggyback on what you said, is when you come to the market with, I have all this expertise, I have this deep knowledge in a certain product line in SAP or certain modules in SAP, and I have the experience that goes along with that. But I love what you said, Jonathan, is you're engaging in communities, you're serving first, you're being able to do maybe some pro bono work, you're being able to come to the market and say, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to work my way through that. I'm going to serve others first, and then be able to have those relationships help me get into different projects. So I love that. Um, how do you feel about kind of like the hourly billing perspective versus project-based work? Like, I know we didn't talk about that in our intro conversation, but just talk to me about what's your perspective on that? What do you feel like is most effective in your business?
For delivery of a project, I would say ideally you would like to have the project, you want to do a project based or task based fee
Mhm.
to deliver as quickly as possible, because from my experience from one of my projects when I was on the opposite end, and I had a few consultants, when you do charge, they charge hourly. There is a incentive, let's say, to drag it on,
Mm.
and if you have a tight schedule, you will not get the result that you would need
Yeah.
within that desired time frame. And at the end of the day, organizations run quarter by quarter
Yeah.
and not necessarily for what's perfect. They just want what's good enough.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, we're not aiming for perfection by any means. And when you go live, there's always going to be some, say, sacrifices that you
Mm.
have to deal with product launch, let's say product minimum viable product launch, whatever you want to mention, and and that's how you would have to understand the situation, because it's all about incentives. How do you incentivize your consultants, your internal teams to deliver what you want? Because at the end of the day, especially on the larger scale organizations, you have to deliver within the quarter, because you are accountable to shareholders, other stakeholders as well, and it's a different time frame and different scale and scope
Yeah.
of these projects.
Yeah. That's so insightful when you're talking about being able to deliver like on a project basis. Because otherwise, what I've noticed having handled hundreds of escalation projects, and those are just for somebody who's listening, if you're not familiar with what that term, that essentially means those SAP projects that are over, usually radically over budget, behind schedule, on the verge of lawsuits. That's one of the things that is my level of expertise that I bring to the market. And so when I look at those projects and I jump into those projects, kind of like what you're talking about, Jonathan, is it's almost like if I'm an hourly consultant and my customer's outcome is they want to be able to get the product in and installed and ready to go and improve their business processes, improve their communications as quickly as possible. But as a consultant, if I'm really only, and you touched on this, you said if maybe my incentive is to try to increase my billable hours as much as possible. And we find that to be the case. But what I've noticed is it almost makes us kind of like diametrically opposed to our clients in that way. And instead, actually, if we were able to recognize that we can come to the table and work as collaborators where we both have the best outcome interest for both sides, then usually those projects are more successful and they're able to implement SAP or another solution faster. Yeah,
Correct.
love that. I love that. Let's kind of transition a little bit. You have an incredible amount of experience, not only in SAP, but let's talk about kind of how does your business now relate to family? And I know you said you told me before the call you've been in a family business, but almost like your bigger family around you. And how do you manage the kind of the healthy boundaries that are necessary for us as independent consultants or entrepreneurs or coaches or business owners? Because I know that we have the opportunity sometimes to talk about everything all the time. And so talk to me about how have you navigated like the family business component? Because we have a lot of listeners that are husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, all that kind of stuff, and they want a healthy consulting business, but they also want to be able to just flourish with their family and that. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Okay, so my background was I initially started learning about the SAP product because I was involved with my family business. I had a business IT background, so I learned the product from and then from there, I we kind of I became part of the team. So I was always the go-to individual when it came to the SAP product that we had.
Yeah.
So after certain hours, you have to learn to disconnect. And that's something that you learn with maturity and with experience itself. Because when you're very involved and very engaged and passionate, you want to talk about this at dinner conversation, like constantly, especially if you're from a family of entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
because you're built a little differently. Let's say you're not your normal person where you want to clock in from 9 to 5 or whatever hours it is. It becomes your life basically because you have, let's say, a vision or a goal where you just want to be successful in the marketplace and you see that you can add value. So what I've learned is outside the office, your family, inside the office, you are just another employee, just who happens to be related, but nothing is a given. And it should be expected that you should be delivering just as well as anyone else. Or in my situation, I felt it was better to deliver at a higher caliber or quality because it was to demonstrate that no opportunities were artificially, let's say, given. Because at the end of the day, yes, maybe there was an opportunity given, but
Yeah.
you have to be responsible with these opportunities and be like I would probably say a good shepherd of
Mhm.
the situation that you've been in, and that's how you would have to see it. But the thing is, you learn to separate, and you learn not to bring up certain things in dinner conversation anymore. You go back to you put everything in its own silo. Let's say you have your personal silo, you have your work silo.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it overlaps because you're both in the same room, but after a certain time, turn off because it also minimizes a bit of burnout too. Because if you're constantly discussing things, you could burn out, and also it does not set good boundaries. Let's say that you're always discussing this a work topic in a personal setting. So you have to learn personal settings are for personal discussions, and your professional environment is for your professional stuff. So maybe sometimes I've actually have made a designated area, let's say in my home office
Yeah.
for work, while everywhere else is personal space.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so incredibly insightful, especially as we're able to step into more opportunities to be independent contractors and consultants on our own and be able to. I love your perspective of being able to set healthy boundaries in even workspace so that your mind says, when I go in here, I do this work. And then when I'm done and I'm out in the office space, then I'm going to go ahead and sit down and do what I need to do at that time. So,
Right.
Jonathan, thank you so much for being with us here today. And yeah, if anybody wants to connect with us further, we'll make sure and put a link down below in the show notes as well in the comments when the podcast episode gets posted. Feel free to join us for the next Wealthy SAP Consultant Masterclass that's coming up shortly. And Jonathan, any final thoughts as we wrap up here today?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity, and it was a great conversation that we had. And I'm always open to discuss more about the product itself. I like getting into it, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And hey, I just want to honor you. I thank you for the way that you showed up today. I thank you for the way that you're serving the marketplace. I thank you for the way that you're engaging with others and taking the expertise that you already have and sharing with it, sharing others with that, sharing that with others so that others can learn and grow from the experience that you've had. So thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you.